Hello, everyone. Um, so, if you want to keep Africa underdeveloped, the modus operandi which had been used successfully in the past is to denigrate Africa's educational system, our history, Africa's culture, and keep her in perpetual disunity by making sure that there is constant infighting. And it had worked over the years. Nigeria Civil War is an example, Liberia Civil War, apartheid, Congo War, LRA, um, insurgency, and the West deliberately support unelected politicians, such as ex-Togo's president Iyadima Mbasongo of Equatorial Guinea, and Gusso in Congo, Ali Bongo in Gabon, and so many on. So the history that we're taught, most especially in Nigeria, is nothing to write home about. Has anyone heard of the Berlin Conference of 1884? You know, I wasn't taught about that in school, not in primary school, not in secondary school. Admittedly, I didn't study history in university. I had to research the Berlin Conference of 1884 on my own. Anyone who's heard of Berlin Conference 1884, make a comment down below. Let me know when you heard about it, if it was taught to you in school, or you had to research it on your own. So history should be made compulsory at all levels of our educational system. Even if it's called social studies in primary school, it should be taught all the way to university. Economics too. Some Nigerians don't seem to know how Nigeria's economy, financial and political structure works. Not only Nigerians, though, because over the years I had met many Americans, British, who know next to nothing about economics and the financial system. On a countrywide scale, I'm talking about now. I know people know about their financial structures at home. But I'm talking about how a country is run on a larger scale. Voters nowadays, they vote mainly on sentiments, mostly anti-immigration. If you look at the voting trajectory in the US, UK, and Europe, there's a high level of anti-immigration rhetorics going on. Back to Nigeria. Nigerians tend to vote according to tribes, like Mr. Tunde voting for Tinubu because he's Yoruba, while Chukudi votes for Peter Obi because he's Igbo. So back to the Berlin Conference of 1884. This was when the world powers at the time met in Berlin, Germany, to carve out Africa. It's like going to someone else's land and start distributing the land amongst your friends and cronies. That's what they did to Africa in 1884. They carve out how to colonize Africa and exploit her resources. It's also sad because no African heads of state or president were present, deciding Africa's fate without consulting Africans. Which brings me to the recent US attack on Venezuela a few days ago. Seems that the world order is changing once more, and Africa's leaders need to prepare for slavery through the back door. Recent commentators, mostly online commentators, have described an agreement similar to the Berlin Conference. That's why I'm making this video. This recent agreement is between the US, China, and Russia. Let's remember that the US had in the past few weeks stationed its Navy Armada to blockade Venezuela. Apparently, these countries had been in negotiation. I'm talking about US, China, and Russia. They've been in negotiation over the past few weeks. Remember, US had stationed so many of its navies outside Venezuela. And apparently, while all this was going on, the US was negotiating with Russia and China. Before then, China and Russia gets cheap oil from Venezuela. So according to online commentators, the deal was that the US would be allowed to attack Venezuela. I'm talking about the deal between US, Russia, and China. So US will be allowed to attack Venezuela. take Maduro to the US, which is done already for drug trial. And in return, Russia gets to keep all the Donbass and Crimea region. Remember, Russia already has taken the Donbass region in Ukraine. I'm sorry, it already took the Crimea as well. So, and China also gets Taiwan. So that's the deal that was done between those three countries. US gets to invade Venezuela, which it's done, take over the country. Um, so in return for Russia and China overlooking the US's invasion of Venezuela, Russia gets to keep Crimea and the Donbass region in Ukraine, and China gets Taiwan. So the sad news is, countries like Philippines, who is in constant uh, um, military issues with China, is being thrown under the bus. And I pity countries like Japan, South Korea. They rely on the US if North Korea decides to invade. So it means, regardless of who your backbone is, deals could be done behind your back without you knowing. So, which brings us back to Africa. African leaders need to unite. This is the time to put our rivalry aside and work together as a one country. Africa as one country, a United States of Africa. Nigeria, South Africa rivalry needs to be put aside. Nigeria, Ghana rivalry needs to be put aside. Rwanda, Congo rivalry, that's already been resolved thanks to Trump. Egypt, Ethiopia rivalry regarding the dam Ethiopia is building, that needs to be put aside. Africa needs to grow its economy, and most importantly, its military. Just like Europe did, Africa needs to dedicate a large chunk of its GDP to economic and military growth. Usually, when you have strong military, no one tends to mess with you. For example, the US will not mess with India or Brazil or Russia. So that's the more reason why Africa needs to unite militarily, protect the continent from internal and external aggressors. We need to put all our rivalry aside, come together as one, and build a strong military for Africa. So, lastly, I want to focus on Nigeria. The issue between the US and Venezuela had shown that politics has no permanent friends, permanent foes. These three countries don't see eye to eye, but they came together when it suits them. I'm talking about US, China, and Russia. Over the years, Nigeria had upheld a neutral stand when it comes to world geopolitics, not supporting the US, not supporting Russia, not supporting China, but just being neutral. But it's time to take a stand. India did it successfully. They bought weapons from the US. They also joined BRICS. US wasn't happy about India joining BRICS, but India is the fourth largest economy in the world. So no one can dictate to India, you know. So Nigeria hasn't got such luxury because our economy is not strong enough. Our military is not strong enough. We have issues in our backyard, insurgency, insecurity, and stuff. So I know President Tinubu is close to President Macron of France since his time as a diplomat in the French embassy in Lagos. So Tinubu should leverage on his friendship with Macron and buy sophisticated military weapons and satellite. And if it is the UK, Nigeria government prefer to align with, go ahead. That's my opinion. Nigeria and UK are aligned through Commonwealth. Ask the UK for military assistance. But if it's China or Russia route, just as Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso did, Nigeria needs to make a decision. The time for sitting on the fence is over. It's time to align with one of these big boys. Either the US, either China, either Russia, either UK, either France. It's time to defeat Boko Haram. So we need military assistance. The Tinubu government should seriously consider having a security pact with one of these countries that I mentioned earlier. Nigeria's economy cannot grow until security and also electricity are both improved. It is time President Tinubu declare state of emergency against insecurity. This is just a suggestion. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but, and if you are one, I mean, if you are a lawyer or a senior advocate of Nigeria, I'll appreciate your comment below if my suggestion can be done legally, because that's the only way to put an end to insecurity. I urge President Tinubu to stop all FAC payments to state and local governments, except recurrent expenditure. Only pay governors and the staff and local government staff their salaries. Use the rest to fund a security upgrade. In summary, what I'm saying is declare a state of emergency, have a council of state meeting. That's when you call all the governors to a meeting. Let them know you're declaring a state of emergency. All FAC allocation, all government allocation will be put straight into security, apart from recurring expenditure, which is salaries and stuff. So the Tinubu government should spend massively to improve, just like Greece did it many years ago, improve our security apparatus, fighter jets, helicopters, ships, drones, satellites, totally defeat insecurity in Nigeria. So, like I said, I don't know if this is unconstitutional, but I appreciate a comment from constitutional lawyers. Let me know what you think about my idea. State of emergency. Let's crush insurgency. Let's crush insecurity. Let's and afterwards invest massively in our economy. Thank you very much. Please like and share my videos. One Africa for all Black race. Thank you.